Hi Double Dip Beauties, and welcome back to our channel. My name is Charlize, and in this video I'll be showing you how to achieve this pink and lilac purple with some ombre glitter and also a full glitter nail. And we will be using our Pastel dip powder kit. Before we get into the tutorial portion of this video, I did want to share a little unboxing and show y'all how you can expect your package to arrive at your door. And Double Dip Nails is a small woman-owned business located in Texas, and we feel it's our mission to provide salon quality nails at an affordable price and healthy alternative for women. So let's go ahead and unbox our Pastel Nail Dip Powder Starter Kit together, and I can show you each of the items you will be receiving in this kit. And I always love the time and thought that goes into packaging with our Double Dip nail products. So as soon as you open the box, you will notice that you will be receiving a Double Dip holographic bag. I love the holographic on this bag. I think it is so pretty. And this is also going to make your dip powder products very travel friendly. So if you're someone always on the go, you can easily put your dip powder products in here or even use it for makeup or anything else you prefer. So I love that it comes with this little bag. So now let's move on to the next thing, which is going to be our Double Dip dip powder liquids. So of course these are essential when using our dip powders. So this box will very neatly hold all of your dip powder liquids to avoid them from spilling or breaking while on their way to you. So once you open up the box, you'll notice that your liquids are going to be in their own little slot, so they're going to come secured inside of the box. So the liquids that you'll receive are going to be the Step 2 base coat, Step 3 activator, Step 4 top coat, and Step 5 brush cleaner, just in case one of your brushes does harden. And here's an overview of all of the liquids you'll be receiving, and I do love that the bottles are glass because they just feel and look very high quality. And I also love that with the glass bottles you'll be able to see how much liquid you have left and whether you need to purchase or restock on your liquids. And I love how these 4 dip powder liquids are included in the kit because they are the most important when doing your dip powder nails. So I love that you don't have to go and look for all of the different dip powder liquids that you need and that they're already in the kit for you. And the next thing you'll find is going to be this little set of nail accessories that'll be very essential when doing your nails. So in this little kit, you'll receive a mini nail file. The next thing I have is this mini buffer block, which is seriously amazing and is key to the perfect dip powder nails. This little block does such a great job at buffing out your dip powder manicure to make sure it's nice and smooth. And the next thing we have is a wooden cuticle stick. I love using these to either push back my cuticle, or you can even use the point on your side to clean up the dip powder around your cuticle area for that perfect cuticle line. And we also have replacement brushes just in case one of your dip powder liquids becomes hard or just doesn't go back to its original state. We now have a dip powder brush, which is going to be used to dust away any excess powder after you dip your nail into the powder. And last but not least, the moment we've been waiting for, and probably the most exciting thing about the kit, is going to be the dip powder colors. So our Pastel dip powder starter kit will come with 6 colors and 1 clear base color. So one of the shades in the kit is going to be Enchanted, which is going to be such a pretty fine soft silver glitter. And the next color we have is Magnolia, which is going to be like a lilac purple color. And all of the sizes of the powders in this kit will be 0.5 ounces. And we now have the shade Emerald, which reminds me of a light green turquoise color. We now have the shade Champagne Gold, which is going to be a fine gold glitter, and it's going to be super easy to work with, as well as the shade Enchanted. And now we have the pink shade called Bunny Nose. And this is just a clear dip powder, so it's not going to have any color, so this is perfect to encapsulate any color dip powder or even glitter, or even use it to build structure on your nail. So I love that this is included in the kit already. And we now have a pastel baby blue color, and this one is going to be called Clear Sky. And with this kit, you have the option to either buy the powders only as a set, or you can even buy the powders individually from this kit, or if you prefer, you can buy the full kit, which will include everything that I just showed. And that's everything that comes in the Pastel Nail Dip Powder Starter Kit. It literally has everything you need to do your own nails at home, so this kit is perfect and so convenient. So now let's take a closer look at the colors included in this dip powder kit, along with some swatches. So now we have an overview of all of our dip powder colors along with their swatches. This is seriously such a perfect dip powder kit for the spring and summertime. I can't get over how beautiful all of the shades are in this kit. And now let's have a closer look at the swatches and the dip powder colors inside of their jars. So we first have the shade Bunny Nose, Magnolia, Champagne Gold, Enchanted, Clear Sky, And last but not least, the color Emerald. And these are the 4 dip powder liquids that will be included in this kit as well. And here are all of the beautiful pastel colors included in this kit that are so perfect for spring and summertime. So now let's move on to the dip powder tutorial portion of this video using 3 of the shades from this kit, which are the shades Bunny Nose, Champagne Gold, Magnolia, and as well as our clear dip powder base. And I will also be showing y'all 2 easy methods that you can do in order to build an apex, whether you're working on your natural nail or using nail tips. And before we get started with today's video, please make sure that you're subscribed to our channel down below and that you've given this video a thumbs up. And now that you've done that, let's go ahead and get started. So onto method number 1 for building an apex, and I am using nail tips which I already have glued on. So for this method, you'll of course need our step 2 base coat and our clear dip powder. So with this method, we do use our clear dip powder to build our apex or the structure of our nail. So I'm going to be taking the step 2 base coat and applying a thin layer where the nail tip and the natural nail meet. I love how easy the step 2 base coat is to use because it applies very smoothly and evenly, and I love that the brush makes it so easy to apply thin layers. Now that we have our step 2 base coat applied in that area, we're going to be dipping into our clear base dip powder at a 45-degree angle. And now tapping off any excess, and then I will be brushing away any excess powder after about 30 seconds of it being completely dry, just to avoid the dip powder from clumping and moving around, which happens when you brush the dip powder nail when it's not dried fully. We're now onto our second layer of base coat and clear dip powder. So now for our second layer of our base coat, we're going to be applying it to about 3/4 of the nail, and still applying our base coat using thin and even layers. And then dipping into our clear base dip powder once again at a 45-degree angle. Then first tapping away any excess powder, and then using the brush side to dust away any excess powder after it being completely dried for about 30 seconds. So depending on the length of your nail, you can do just 2 dips of the clear, or you can do 3 like I am, just because I do have more of a medium length. But for the third dip into our clear, we're going to be taking our base coat and applying it a little bit below 3/4 of the nail where we previously applied it, still leaving a small gap from our cuticle area, so we're not taking it all the way down. And following the same previous steps of dipping my nail into the powder at a 45-degree angle. By working in 3 different sections when applying our dip powder, it's going to help us create that apex in the center of our nail, which is going to give our nail structure to prevent it from breaking, especially if you do have more of medium or longer length nails. And by creating an apex, it'll also prevent your dip powder nails from looking flat from the side. So now that we have our 3 layers of clear on, we are going to be doing a couple more steps just to perfect this apex. Taking our step 3 activator, I'm going to be applying this generously all over the nail. This is going to harden those 3 clear dip powder layers and also allow us to file the nail a little bit to perfect the shape, as well as make sure there's no lumps or bumps before we move on to applying our dip powder color. I then allow that activator to fully dry and harden the nail for 1 minute, and one way to know as well if it's completely dry is if you tap your nail file against your nail and hear a tapping noise. Now we're ready to start filing, so taking the nail file that is included in the kit, I'm just going to be filing the sidewalls of my nail just to first perfect my shape. And then using the nail file to also file over the entire nail just to make sure that it is free of any bumps, so that way when we start applying our dip powder nail color, it goes on evenly and smoothly on the nail and we don't have to do too much filing. So we now have one apex method down, and this is how the nail looks from the side after we created that apex. So once you have your apex built using your clear dip powder, you're just going to want to go ahead and start applying your dip powder color of choice. So I do like to apply my dip powder in sections, so I'm going to be taking the step 2 base coat and applying it to about 3/4 of the nail first, and then dipping into the shade Bunny Nose at a 45-degree angle. And then wiping away any excess powder once it's completely dried. And now for our second layer of color, we're going to be applying our base coat a little bit below where we previously applied it. And you always want to make sure to turn your nail just to make sure you're not missing any spots. And now that we have that second layer of our base coat applied, we're going to be dipping into our powder at a 45-degree angle. And then once again tapping away any excess powder and then brushing the rest off. Now for our third and final layer of color, we're going to be applying our step 2 base coat a hairline away from the cuticle area. You always want to get as close as you can to the cuticle skin without actually touching it. And then dipping our nail one final time into our powder. And while the dip powder is still wet, I'm going to be taking that wooden cuticle pusher that comes in the kit and using the pointier side that looks like a toothpick just to really clean the cuticle area and get that perfect cuticle line. I then decided to really quickly encapsulate this nail in clear since we already have it all done. So to do that, I'm just going to be applying my base coat all over the nail and then sprinkling our clear dip powder over. And then applying our step 3 activator to harden the nail before we do any filing. And after allowing that activator to air dry for about a minute, I'm now going to be taking my hand file and just using this to fix the shape of my nail really quickly by filing the sidewalls. And this is how our nail looks from the side once our first apex method is completed, and I will be saving the step 4 top coat as the last step. So now we're going to move on to our next method. And we're now on to the second method you can do to also build an apex. With my step 2 base coat, I'm going to be starting a line where the nail tip and my natural nail meet and applying it to the center of the nail, avoiding the sidewalk. And then dipping your nail into your colored dip powder. So as you can tell, we just have that dip powder color applied to the center where my nail tip and the natural nail meet, avoiding the sidewalk. So now for our second layer, we're still going to be keeping it in the center, but just starting a little bit below where we previously applied it. So you still want to avoid the sidewall of your nail. And then dipping into the powder at a 45-degree angle. So this is now how your nail should look after that second dip into the color. So now for our third layer of color, we're going to be starting at the same spot that we previously applied it for our second dip, and this time taking it a little bit closer to the sidewalls. I do find this apex method to be a little quicker than the first method I previously showed, just because we start with the color right away. And dipping into our powder at a 45-degree angle. And dusting away any excess powder once the powder has completely dried after about 30 seconds. And now this is how my nail looks after the third dip, and as you can see, we still have no color on the cuticle area, so now let's work towards that area. And now for our fourth layer of color, we're going to be taking our base coat and applying it a little bit below where we previously applied it, and this time making sure to apply our base coat all the way to the sidewall. As you can tell when doing this apex method, you do slowly work your way down to the cuticle and the sidewall area, and this is just to avoid any bulking or thickness of the nail, and then dipping into your powder. And of course, brushing away any excess powder. So we almost have our nail fully covered with our dip powder color, but the cuticle area is still missing a little spot. So now we're going to be taking the step 2 base coat once again and applying it a hairline away from the cuticle area, and then applying it to the rest of the nail. And this is going to be our final dip of color. And dipping into our powder for the final time. And taking the wooden cuticle pusher once again to clean up the cuticle area of the nail. So we now have that apex method completed, and we have our 5 layers of color on. And now to seal that color in, I'm just going to be encapsulating my nail really quickly just by taking the step 2 base coat and applying that all over the nail. And then sprinkling our clear dip powder all over the nail to avoid cross-contaminating our clear powder. And then applying our step 3 activator to harden those dip powder layers. And after letting that activator air dry for about 1 minute, it is now time to file the nail just to really perfect my shape. So I'm just going to be filing the sidewall of the nail once again. And this is how our nail looks from the side using this apex method. It's not too thick and has the perfect amount of apex. So we now have both of these nails done, each with a different apex method that I demonstrated. So now you know 2 different methods that you can do to build an apex. So I'm now going to be building the apex for the remainder of my nails off camera using the clear dip powder base method that I showed. So I now have my apex built for the remainder of the nails using my clear dip powders. Now we're ready to move on to the next colors. Taking our step 2 base coat, I'm going to start off by applying this to about 3/4 of the nail. And dipping into the shade Magnolia, which is such a pretty lavender purple color. And then tapping away any excess powder and then brushing off any remainder. And repeating that step to my ring finger. And I will be using a glitter shade on my middle finger, so therefore I won't be applying this Magnolia shade onto that finger. And I love how finely blended and smooth our powders are. It makes them super beginner friendly and easy to use because you won't run into any clumps or lumps in the powders. They just literally apply like butter onto the nail and apply so seamlessly and easily. So now going back to my pinky nail for the second layer of color for this shade, we're going to be applying our base coat, this time to about 3/4 of the nail. And dipping into our powder at a 45-degree angle. And repeating that same step of applying the base coat to 3/4 of the nail to my ring finger. And back to our pinky nail for our third and final layer of color, we're now going to be applying our step 2 base coat a hairline away from the cuticle area. And dipping into our powder one last time. And I can't get over how beautiful this shade Magnolia is. It's such a beautiful lavender purple color. I am literally obsessed. And then returning to our ring finger to do our third and final layer of color as well, and we'll be starting it a hairline away from the cuticle area just like we did with the pinky nail. So now let's move on to our middle finger, which is going to have some glitter to it, which is why I saved it for last. So we're going to be taking our step 2 base coat and applying it to about 3/4 of the nail once again. And then dipping into the glitter shade Champagne Gold, which as you can tell is going to be a really fine glitter, and it's also just super sparkly and so easy to work with. Now for our second layer of glitter, we're going to be applying our base coat a little bit lower compared to the first dip. And then dipping into our glitter shade at a 45-degree angle. Now for our third and final layer of glitter, we're going to be applying our base coat a hairline away from the cuticle area. And as you've noticed, I do like to work my way down to the cuticle area in sections. This is just to avoid any bulking or thickness of the nail, especially in that spot. And then dipping into our powder for the final time. And now to make this manicure more fun and pop, I'm going to be doing a glitter ombre starting from the bottom of the nail on my pointer and ring finger. Doing a glitter ombre is super easy, so what you're going to want to do is take your step 2 base coat and apply it all over the nail. And you want to have your gold glitter next to you and ready to go, and while the base is still wet, you're just going to be taking a little brush and sprinkling that powder on. You also want to gently tap on the brush just to release a little bit of glitter at a time so that we don't accidentally apply too much glitter at once. And you're going to want to focus the glitter to mostly the bottom of the nail because we want it to ombre into the color a little bit, but of course you can take it to about half of the nail or as much of the nail you prefer. It's really your preference. And then once I have my glitter sprinkled onto where I want it, I'm going to be encapsulating that glitter and the color using our clear dip powder. And of course, brushing away any excess powder from the nail. And I'm seriously obsessed with how that glitter ombre came out. It looks so pretty, and I just love the color combination of all three of these colors. So now we're going to be repeating that same glitter ombre step to my ring finger. And I love how fine these glitters are because it makes them perfect for ombre because they're not going to add thickness to the nail or anything like that. They're literally just going to add the perfect amount of sparkle and still be easy to work with. And just like that, you easily have a glitter ombre, and now time to encapsulate that nail in clear. So we'll now be encapsulating the rest of our nails in our clear dip powder. It's always important to encapsulate any color or glitter that you use just to protect the color or the glitter when filing. And encapsulating your nails is super quick and easy. All you're going to do is apply the base coat all over the nail and then sprinkle on your clear dip powder. And when encapsulating your nails, I do recommend pouring the clear dip powder over just so you don't cross-contaminate any clear with any colored or glittered dip powder. If you skip the encapsulating part and you do file a lot, you might notice that the color will start to file off, so you definitely don't want that to happen because then all that hard work you put into your nails would just be ruined. Now that we have our nails encapsulated and clear, we're going to be applying our step 3 activator to harden all of our dip powder layers, that way we can begin filing. And I will be applying a generous amount of activator all over my nails. And allowing that to air dry and completely harden for about 1 minute. And then taking the mini hand file included in the kit to fix the shape of my nails by filing the sidewalls. And now for my last filing step, I'm going to be taking the mini buffer block included in the kit and using this to buff out the nails just to make sure that they're nice and even and smooth and that there's no bumps in the nail. These buffer blocks may be a mini size, but let me tell you, they do such a great job at smoothing out and evening the nail, especially if you are someone that gets a little messy with dip powder and you sometimes have some bumps in your nail, then these little buffing blocks are going to be a lifesaver. So now that I have my nails filed and buffed out to where I want them, I'm going to be taking our step 3 activator just one more time and applying it all over the nail one more time before we apply our step 4 top coat, and letting that air dry for about 2 minutes this time. Now before applying our step 4 top coat, I do want to make sure that I don't have any excess activator on my nails, so I'm going to be spraying some rubbing alcohol all over my nails and then taking a lint-free wipe to wipe away any excess activator. And this is going to prevent our step 4 top coat brush from hardening. And now we're finally ready to apply our step 4 top coat. For the first layer of our top coat, I'm going to be applying it using thin layers and quick strokes. You do want to work quick with the first layer just because it does dry quickly. It's always so satisfying watching a glitter nail go from matte to shiny. I don't know why, it just makes the most satisfying thing ever, and our top coat just makes your nails look so shiny and glossy. I will then be allowing that to air dry for about 5 minutes, and just look at how beautiful the nails look already. After that first layer is completely dried, I'm now going to be taking a second layer of the step 4 top coat and still applying it in thin layers, but I don't have to work as quick just because the second layer doesn't dry as fast. And I love how glossy and shiny the step 4 top coat leaves your nails, and I also love that it dries quickly and I don't have to wait forever for my nails to be dried. And letting that top coat air dry for about 5 to 6 minutes or until completely dried. And that is it, Double Dip Beauties. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. I hope you found this video helpful and informative and that you now know how to do a glitter ombre as well as 2 different apex methods. And don't forget to check out the description box for the link to this exact kit, or if you just want to order some dip powder colors that you saw in today's video, then definitely check out the description box down below for those links. But of course, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel down below, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye, Double Dip Beauties!